Welcome to Monk's Moon Temple. Settle in. Let the weight of the day begin to dissolve. Perhaps you're here seeking clarity, or maybe just a moment of stillness before sleep claims you. Wherever you are, whatever has brought you here, allow yourself to arrive fully. Let your breath become your anchor, gentle, steady, a reminder that in this moment, you are safe, you are whole, you are here. We are about to begin a journey into the landscape of human connection, guided not by fear, but by the timeless wisdom of Buddhist teachings. For over 3 decades, I have walked this path, first as a seeker, then as a monk, and finally as a guide, and what I wish to share with you tonight is not a list of warnings, but a map for navigating the terrain of the heart with eyes wide open. Our focus will be on words. Not merely their dictionary meanings, but the energy they carry, the intentions they conceal, and the profound impact they have on the garden of our inner peace. The Buddha taught extensively about right speech, one of the pillars of the Noble Eightfold Path. This teaching is often the most misunderstood. It is not about political correctness or suppressing truth. It is about understanding that speech is a karmic action. Every word uttered is a seed planted in the mind of the speaker and in the heart of the listener. It can be a seed of compassion, metta, or a seed of suffering, dukkha. And as the listener, you have a sacred responsibility, the responsibility of the gatekeeper. You decide which seeds are allowed to take root in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Tonight, we will explore specific phrases, common turns of speech, that often carry the hidden seeds of manipulation, control, or disregard. We will examine them through the lens of dependent origination, the Buddhist principle that nothing exists in isolation, everything arises based on causes and conditions. When someone speaks to you, their words are not random. They are the fruit of their own inner weather, their past karma, their present fears, their attachments, and their ignorance. Your reaction is also not random, it is the fruit of your inner weather. Our work is to create enough space between the storm outside and the awareness inside so that we can choose our response, rather than being swept away by reaction. Let us begin with a story, a personal anecdote from my early years at the monastery. It involves a visitor, a woman named Alara. She was a weaver, her fingers accustomed to finding harmony in tangled threads. Yet, in her relationship, she felt perpetually knotted. Her partner was a woodcarver, a man of few words but sharp critiques. When Alara would express excitement about a new pattern, a complex blend of colors, he would look up from his carving, squint, and say, "It's interesting. But is it practical? Who would buy that?" When her excitement would falter, when a shadow of doubt crossed her face, he would add, "Don't be so sensitive. I'm just thinking of your success." Alara came to the temple, her creative spirit feeling splintered. She didn't speak of abuse, only of a constant, quiet erosion. "Am I too sensitive?" she asked. "Is my vision flawed?" I took her to the temple's old well. We drew up a bucket of water, clear and cold. "Look at your reflection," I said. She did. "Now," I said, and I gently tapped the side of the bucket with a stone. Clang! The water shivered, and her reflection fragmented into 100 shimmering pieces. "What happened to your face?" I asked. "It broke apart," she said. "Did your actual face break?" "No." "What broke?" "The reflection." The water became disturbed. "Exactly," I said. "His words are the stone. Your feeling self is the water. You are not the broken reflection. You are the one who holds the water. The question is not whether the stone was thrown, it was. The question is, how do you return the water to stillness, so you can see yourself clearly again? And do you wish to remain holding the bucket next to someone who constantly throws stones, mistaking the shattered image for your true face? This is the core of our exploration. We will learn to distinguish the stone from the water, the speaker's disturbance from our own inherent stillness. We will learn to set the bucket down, if we must. This understanding is a form of spiritual protection. It allows you to interact with the world from a place of centered wisdom, not reactive fear. If the wisdom you find here resonates, if you feel this temple is a sanctuary for your learning, consider joining our community. Your subscription is a gentle affirmation, a shared intention to cultivate peace. It helps this lantern of understanding shine for others lost in the dark. We are deeply grateful for your presence. Now, let's reorder our journey. Instead of starting with the most obvious phrases, let's begin in the subtle, misty middle. Let's talk about the phrase that creates a phantom relationship: I'm not ready for anything serious, but. This "but" is followed by all the actions of intimacy, the daily texts, the deep sharing, the intertwined lives. It is a masterpiece of clinging, upadana, to pleasure while actively cultivating aversion, dosa, to responsibility. In Buddhist psychology, this is the epitome of causing suffering through confusion. It creates a samskara, a mental formation of maybe, which is more agonizing than a clear no. Maybe is a hook in the heart, keeping you suspended in the bardo, the transitional state between hope and resignation. I think of a young man named Kaido who visited the temple during the rainy season. He was a musician, a player of the bamboo flute. He spoke of a woman whose melody had entwined with his own. They composed together, shared meals, whispered dreams in the moonlight. Yet, whenever he spoke of a future, she would smile sadly and say, "This is so beautiful. Let's not put a cage around it. I'm not ready for labels." Her words were like a soft rain that never quite quenched the thirst. He felt he was drinking from a cloud. We walked in the damp forest. I pointed to a particular vine, the strangler figure. It begins its life as a tiny seed deposited in the canopy by a bird. It sends roots down, tenderly, toward the earth. As it grows, it gently, slowly, wraps around the host tree. It is not malicious. It is simply following its nature to seek support. Decades later, the host tree is encased, its own growth constricted, while the fig stands tall, having used the tree's strength to reach the sun. Is the vine evil? I asked Kaido. No, he said. It is just being a vine. And the tree? It was available. The person who says, "I'm not ready," while acting ready is often like the strangler fig. They are not necessarily evil. They are following their nature, to seek the sunlight of your affection, your support, your presence, without the commitment of being your soil. Their growth may depend on your steady structure for a time. Your suffering arises if you mistake this natural process for a mutual partnership, if you believe the gentle embrace is forever, not a phase of their growth. The Buddha's teaching on anicca, impermanence, is crucial here. See the situation clearly. This is an arrangement, temporary and conditional. You can choose to enjoy the companionship, knowingly, without banking your future on it. Or, if the ambiguity drains your peace, you can choose to gently separate, allowing the vine to find another host. Your clarity is your sunlight. Do not let another's growth pattern overshadow your own. This leads us to a phrase that is the direct attack on clarity: you're being controlling. This is often said when you express a simple, human need. A boundary. In the Dharma, boundaries are not walls of ego. They are expressions of sila, ethical conduct, and panna, wisdom. Sila is the precept to refrain from harming oneself and others. Allowing someone to consistently cross your limits is a harm to yourself. Panna is the wisdom that knows a beautiful, rare orchid cannot thrive in a drafty hallway. It needs a greenhouse with specific conditions. Your needs are the specifications for your greenhouse. To state them is not control. It is clarity about the conditions necessary for your spirit to bloom. Many years ago, I counseled a couple, two farmers. The wife, May, needed order and predictability to feel safe, a legacy of a chaotic childhood. She asked her husband, Lin, if he could please put his tools back in the shed after use. To her, scattered tools felt like psychic chaos. Lin would forget. When May reminded him, he would laugh, "You're trying to control the farm. You can't control everything." She began to feel like her need for order was a personal flaw, a sickness. One harvest moon, we sat in the tool shed. I asked Lin, "What do you plant in the north field?" "Wheat," he said. "And in the low, wet field by the creek?" "Rice." "Wheat would rot there." "So," I said, "you control the fields. You dictate where each seed goes." "It's not control," he exclaimed. "It's respect. You respect the needs of the seed. Wheat needs dry soil. Rice needs water. You give them what they need, or there is no harvest." The silence was thick. May looked at him, tears in her eyes. Lin's face softened with a painful realization. He had been treating his wife's need for order like a weed, trying to ignore it, rather than seeing it as the necessary soil condition for her to flourish. Her request was not about controlling him, it was about communicating the conditions of her inner landscape. A true partner strives to learn those conditions, just as a farmer learns his land. When someone calls you controlling for having a need, they are essentially saying, "I do not wish to learn the climate of your heart. I want you to thrive in mine, regardless of your nature." This is not partnership. It is colonization. You are not a colony. Let us pause here, and breathe into this understanding. Inhale, "I have a right to my climate." Exhale, "My needs are not negotiable." They are informative. Let us continue. We move now from the misty terrain of ambiguity to a phrase that strikes directly at the core of your inner knowing: you're too sensitive. Or its close relatives: you're overreacting, or you're making a big deal out of nothing. In the framework of the Buddha's teaching, this phrase is an assault on Vedana and Sati. Vedana is the feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, that accompanies every experience. It is immediate, pre-verbal. Sati is mindfulness, the pure, non-judgmental awareness of what is happening. When you feel hurt by a comment, that is your Vedana, an unpleasant feeling tone has arisen. Your Sati registers it. To be told you're too sensitive is to be told that your basic, neurological and emotional registration of reality is faulty. It is spiritual gaslighting. It asks you to distrust the most fundamental data from your own lived experience. I remember a student named Clara, a nurse whose profession required a keen sensitivity to subtle shifts in a patient's condition. In her personal life, this sensitivity was a curse. Her partner would make a sarcastic remark. She would feel a pang, a withdrawal. When she mentioned it, he would sigh. There you go again. Walking on eggshells around you. You're too sensitive. She began to believe it. She tried to numb herself, to ignore the pangs. But in doing so, she also numbed her joy, her intuition, her aliveness. She came to retreat feeling hollow. We did a simple practice with a candle. In a completely still room, the flame burned straight and tall. This is your awareness in calm conditions, I said. Then, I gently blew a almost imperceptible breath toward it. The flame wavered, just slightly. Did the flame overreact? I asked. No, she said. It responded to the air. Exactly. Your sensitivity is that flame. The remark is the breath of air. The wavering is not a flaw in the flame, it is its nature to respond to the environment. A flame that does not waver in a breeze is not a stronger flame, it is a picture of a flame, not a living one. Do not let anyone convince you to become a picture. Your wavering is your aliveness. The question is not, why do you waver, but, do you wish to remain in this breeze? Your sensitivity is your guidance system. It is the body's wisdom speaking faster than the mind's logic. To devalue it is to blindfold yourself in a forest. The people who criticize it are often those who are either unaware of their own emotional breezes or who specifically wish to create a disturbance without accountability. This connects to another, more virtue-disguised phrase, I'm just being honest. Particularly when it follows a comment that feels needlessly sharp, critical, or exposing. The Buddha taught that for speech to be right speech, it must pass 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? The phrase, I'm just being honest, insists on the first gate while blatantly ignoring the second and third. It weaponizes truth. In Buddhist terms, this is using panna, wisdom, without karuna, compassion, which is not wisdom at all. It is intellectualized aggression. There is a Jataka tale, a story of the Buddha's past lives, that speaks to this. A truth speaker was traveling with a caravan. Bandits attacked, and the caravan scattered into the forest. The truth speaker hid in a tree. From his perch, he saw where his friend was hiding in a thicket. When the bandit chief passed below, demanding to know where the friend was, the truth speaker, bound by his vow, pointed directly to the thicket. He is there. The friend was captured and killed. The truth speaker had spoken truth. But his speech caused immense harm because it lacked compassion and discernment of necessity. When someone uses honesty as a shield for cruelty, they are that truth speaker. They value their own self-image as honest more than your well-being. They may even derive a sense of power from watching you grapple with the truth they've delivered. It creates a bind. If you protest, you are avoiding the truth or can't handle honesty. This is a classic dukkha-generating trap. I witnessed this in a community setting. A man named Thomas had a habit of helpful critiques. He would tell a young mother her child was poorly disciplined, then say, I'm just being honest for the child's sake. He would tell a cook her soup was bland, just being honest so you can improve. People felt diminished but silenced, because honesty is a cultural idol. One day, an elder was serving tea. Thomas took a sip and grimaced. This tea is stewed. Bitter. I'm just being honest. The elder nodded slowly. Thank you for your honesty, Thomas. And I will be honest with you. Your honesty is like a hammer. You see everything as a nail. A hammer is a useful tool, but if you bring it to a tea ceremony, you break the cups and scare the guests. Your truth may be correct, but your tool is wrong for this gathering. You are not creating improvement, you are creating debris. Thomas was stunned. The elder had mirrored his own tactic, but with a compassionate intent to illuminate the damage. Sometimes, the most honest thing we can say is about the impact of another's honesty. Real honesty seeks to build, not to break. It is delivered with the tenderness you would use to remove a splinter from a loved one's hand, with care for the wound, not pride in your own eyesight. Now, let us turn to a phrase that targets not your present feeling, but your evolution. You've changed. And not for the better. This phrase is a profound rebellion against the first noble truth: life is suffering, dukkha, and a core cause of that suffering is attachment to impermanence, anicca. To be alive is to change. To grow spiritually is to change consciously. When someone criticizes you for changing, especially when you are becoming more authentic, more boundaried, more aligned with your values, they are expressing an attachment to a past version of you. They are in love with a ghost. More specifically, they are attached to the version of you that best served the equilibrium of their ego. Let me share a story about a ceramicist named Silas. He was known for making perfect, identical white teacups. They were elegant, sterile, and sold well. Then, Silas went through a profound personal loss. When he returned to his wheel, his hands shook. His cups came out irregular, slightly warped, with fingerprints pressed into the clay. He began to glaze them in deep, tumultuous blues and greens. They were beautiful, but in a wild, soulful way. His biggest patron came to his studio, picked up one of the new cups, and scowled. "This isn't your work. You've lost your touch. You've changed." He wanted the old, predictable, perfect white cups. Silas was crushed. He almost returned to the old style. Then, a teacher visited. She held a new, blue warped cup in both hands, closing her eyes. "I can feel the storm in this," she said. "I can feel the grief, and the strength it took to return to the wheel. This cup holds more than tea, it holds a story. The old cups were vessels. These are companions." Silas realized his patron loved the function of his old work, its predictability, its marketability. The teacher appreciated the essence of his journey, its truth, its humanity. The person who says, "You've changed for the worse," is often the patron. They have a contract with your old form. Your spirit's evolution has breached that contract. Do not default on your soul's growth to service someone else's comfort with the past. In the context of relationship, this phrase is often the last defense of an ego that feels threatened by your expansion. Your growth holds up a mirror to their stagnation. Instead of looking in the mirror, they try to break it by convincing you your reflection is ugly. Let us continue, deepening our understanding. We venture now into more subtle, yet equally draining, patterns of speech. These are not always dramatic phrases, but linguistic traps that ensnare your peace in coils of confusion and self-doubt. The first is a masterful tactic of blame shifting. "You made me do this," or "Look what you made me become." This phrase directly contradicts the Buddha's core teaching of karma and self-responsibility. Karma is intention. Your actions, speech, and thoughts are your own. No one can make you feel or do anything. They can create conditions, but your response is your karmic seed. When someone says, "You made me," they are attempting to outsource their own moral agency. They are claiming you are the puppeteer of their poor behavior. This is a profound spiritual immaturity. It is like a tree blaming the wind for its fallen, rotten branches. The wind was the condition, the rot was within the tree. I recall a couple, Eris and Ben. Eris had a temper. When stressed, he would shout, break things. Afterwards, in remorse, he would say to Ben, "I'm sorry. But you know how I get when you criticize me. You push my buttons. You made me lose control." Ben, a gentle man, began to believe he was responsible for Eris's storms. He walked on eggshells, suppressing his own needs to avoid triggering Eris. He became a ghost in his own home. They came for counsel during a stormy season. I gave them a simple practice. I gave Eris a small, smooth stone. "This is your anger," I said. "It is yours. Hold it." He held it. "Now, Ben, say something critical to him." Ben nervously said, "I wish you'd remember to put the dishes away." Eris's grip tightened on the stone. "See," he started. I interrupted. "Eris. Did Ben just reach into your hand, pry your fingers open, and force you to squeeze that stone?" He looked puzzled. "No." "Where did the squeezing come from?" "From me." "The comment was the sound of the wind," I said. "The stone was in your hand all along. The squeeze was your choice. You can learn to hold the stone without squeezing it. But first, you must admit the stone is yours." This was a turning point. Until Eris took ownership of his stone, Ben would forever be held hostage to the weather of another man's palm. No one makes you angry. They may do something. You then choose anger from your own storehouse of responses. A person who refuses this ownership is not safe for your spiritual peace, for they will always make you the custodian of their unresolved chaos. Closely related is the tactic of future faking. "I'll change, I promise," or, "After this next big project, things will be different." This is the language of craving, tanha, for a future ideal, used to justify present neglect. The Buddha taught the importance of present moment awareness. While planning is wise, using future promises as a currency to pay off present deficits is a form of spiritual debt. It asks you to mortgage your current happiness for a future that may never be built. There was a woman, Fatima, whose partner was a serial entrepreneur, always on the brink of the big one. He was absent, emotionally and physically. Their anniversary forgotten, her birthdays alone. Each time she expressed loneliness, he painted a glorious future. "Just wait until this deal closes. Then we'll have the big house, the vacations, all my time." Years passed. The deals never closed. The future never arrived. She was living on promissory notes that kept bouncing. She came to the temple, feeling like a fool for waiting. We sat under a Bodhi tree. I asked her to pick up a leaf. "This leaf," I said, "is real. You can feel its texture, its veins, its reality in this moment. Now, imagine the most beautiful, perfect leaf that could possibly grow on this tree next season. Can you see it? Yes, she said. Can you hold it? Can you make tea from it? Can you feel its texture now? No. Your partner's promises are that future leaf. Beautiful, potential, inspiring. But you cannot build a home in its shade. You cannot nourish yourself with it today. You are holding a real leaf, but you are starving because you are staring at an imaginary one. The practice, I suggested, was to evaluate the relationship based on the current leaf, the present moment reality of care, attention, and presence. Is it nourishing? If not, no volume of future leaves, no matter how beautifully described, can sustain you. Then there is the silence that speaks volumes, the withdrawing, fine, or do whatever you want. This is not acquiescence, it is emotional abandonment. It is passive aggression, dosa manifesting as withdrawal. It is a relational strike, a refusal to engage while making you bear the full burden of decision and subsequent blame. It creates a lose-lose dynamic designed to punish you for raising an issue. The Buddha taught about the four immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Passive aggression is the opposite of all four. It is unkind, uncompassionate, finds joy in another's discomfort, and is deeply unequanimous. It is turmoil disguised as detachment. I remember a mother and daughter, Lean and Mai. When Mai made a choice Lean disapproved of, a college major, a partner, Lean wouldn't argue. She would go very quiet, then say, "Fine. It's your life. Do what you want." The air would turn to ice. Mai would feel guilty, anxious, and ultimately, resentful. She felt emotionally blackmailed but couldn't point to a single cruel word. We worked with the image of a bridge. A relationship is a bridge you build together, I said to Lean. When Mai comes to you with a choice, she is bringing new building materials. Maybe they look strange to you. You have two choices. You can say, "I don't understand these materials. Let's look at them together. Tell me about your vision." That keeps you on the bridge, building. Or, you can drop your tools, step off your end of the bridge, and say, "Fine, build it yourself." The bridge remains, but you are no longer connected. Do what you want is the sound of you dropping your tools and walking away. It is not peace, it is an abandonment of the shared project of your connection. Lean began to see her silence not as neutrality, but as a destructive action. True equanimity in relationship is staying on the bridge, engaged, even when the view is unfamiliar. Now, let us pivot. We have examined many patterns of speech that erode. But what does the speech of a truly safe, evolved person sound like? What is the energy of right speech directed toward you? It is speech that acknowledges your Vedana, feeling, "I see that hurt you. Tell me more." It is speech that takes responsibility, "I spoke harshly. That was my frustration, not your fault." It is speech that is clear and present, "I cannot give you a commitment now, so I will not act as if I can." It is speech that celebrates your anicca, change, "I love watching you grow. Who are you becoming?" It is speech that respects your boundaries as sacred information, "Thank you for telling me what you need. I want to honor that." This speech feels like clean water. It hydrates without leaving a residue. It clarifies without distorting. After conversations with such a person, you don't need to recover your energy. You feel your energy has been seen, respected, and perhaps even amplified. Let us continue, moving from understanding to embodiment. We have identified the weeds in the garden of conversation. Now, we learn the art of tending. How do you stand firm in your wisdom when faced with words designed to shake it? The answer lies not in clever comebacks, but in cultivating an unassailable inner sanctuary. We turn to the core Buddhist practices of mindfulness, sati, and equanimity, upekkha. The first and most powerful tool is the pause. Between the stimulus, the words, and your response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom and your power. When you hear a phrase like, "You're too sensitive," your nervous system may react immediately. The old pattern is to either defend, "I am not," or capitulate, "Maybe I am." The practice is to insert a conscious pause. Take one deep, silent breath. In that breath, you step out of the river of reaction and onto the bank of awareness. You become the one who hears, not the one who is hurled. Imagine you are a mountain. Storms come. Winds of harsh words, rains of criticism, thunder of accusations. The mountain does not argue with the storm. It does not chase the clouds away. It does not become the storm. It stands, immense, rooted, observing the weather pass over its slopes. Your awareness is the mountain. The words are the weather. The pause is you remembering you are the mountain. I taught this to a woman named Anya who was in a toxic work environment. Her boss would often dismiss her ideas with, "That's not how we do things here. Don't overcomplicate it." She would leave meetings feeling deflated and furious. I suggested the pause. In the next meeting, when the boss said his line, Anya, instead of flushing with anger or shrinking, simply took a slow, quiet breath. In that pause, she felt her feet on the floor, the mountain's base. She heard the words as sounds, the wind. She noticed the urge to fight or flee, a tremble on the slope. And because she paused, she did not feed the urge. She simply said, "I hear your perspective. I'll reflect on it." The dynamic shifted. She was no longer providing the resistance he expected. She became unmanipulable because she was no longer in the storm, she was observing it from the mountain's peak. The second tool is the internal question. After the pause, silently ask yourself one of these wisdom questions, rooted in Dharma. First, the karma question: what seed is being planted here? Is this metta or dosa? Loving kindness or aversion? Second, the reality question: is this statement about me, or about the speaker's inner world? Remember the mirror of karma. Third, the boundary question: does this require a response from me to protect my peace? These questions are like a lantern in the fog. They cut through the emotional confusion and bring in the light of discernment. Let's apply them. When someone says, "I'm just being honest," after a cut, you pause. Then ask internally. Karma, the seed is a mix, truth, maybe, but layered with the unwholesome seeds of cruelty and pride. Reality, this is more about the speaker's need to feel superior or unburdened than about your actual improvement. Boundary, yes. My peace requires I do not accept cruelty as a gift. My response can be a boundary. Your external response can then flow from this clarity. It might be, "Thank you for sharing your opinion." Neutral, acknowledges receipt without endorsement. Or, if you wish to be more direct, I value honesty that is also kind. Can you share that in a way that considers my feelings? This response is not defensive, it is instructional. It states the conditions for continued engagement. Now, let's apply it to "you've changed for the worse." Pause. Karma, the seed is fear and attachment to your old self. Reality. This is about the speaker's discomfort with your growth, not a genuine assessment of your worth. Boundary, yes. My growth is non-negotiable. My response must protect my evolution. Your response could be, I am changing. I see it as growth. I'm sorry if it's difficult for you. This is compassionate but immovable. You acknowledge their feeling without apologizing for your journey. The third tool is the compassionate exit. This is not storming off in anger. It is the conscious, calm decision to remove yourself from a field of speech that is actively harming you. The Buddha himself walked away from debates and confrontations that served no purpose but to perpetuate conflict. Walking away is an act of ahimsa, non-harm, toward yourself. It is saying, this environment is not conducive to my peace or our mutual understanding. I choose to leave it. There is a specific phrase that serves as the exit door. I'm not able to have this conversation in this way right now. It is neutral, it takes ownership of your capacity, and it shuts down the dysfunctional dynamic without blame. You can follow it with, we can try again later when we're both calmer, or simply, I need to go now. I remember guiding a man, David, whose father would berate him for career choices. The conversations always followed the same path: critique, defense, escalation, rupture. I taught David the compassionate exit. The next time his father began, David listened for a minute, then said calmly, Dad, I hear you're upset about my choices. I'm not able to have this conversation in this way right now. It's not helpful for either of us. I'm going to go. I love you, and we can talk about something else later. Then he literally left the room, or ended the phone call. The first time, his father was furious. The second time, confused. The third time, the father, deprived of the familiar dance of conflict, was forced to change his own steps if he wanted any engagement at all. David broke the karma of the interaction pattern. These tools, pause, internal question, compassionate exit, are muscles. They feel weak at first. You will forget to use them. That's okay. The practice is to return to them, again and again. Each time you do, you strengthen the mountain of your awareness against the weather of unwise speech. Let us continue, journeying now from defense to deep healing. Recognizing and deflecting harmful speech is one half of the path. The other, perhaps more crucial half, is healing the soil of your own heart so that such seeds find no fertile ground to begin with. Why do we sometimes find ourselves in the path of these verbal storms, time and again? The Buddhist answer often points to samskaras, deep mental grooves or conditioning, and trishna. Craving for love, validation, or belonging that makes us overlook red flags. We must tend to the wounds left by past words. We must also examine our own cravings that may lead us to tolerate what we know, deep down, is not right. This is not about blame, but about empowerment through self-understanding. Let's begin with a healing meditation for releasing old hooks. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Bring to mind a phrase that has stuck with you, one that still causes a pang. Perhaps it's an old, "you're too much," or "I'm not ready." Don't force it, let it arise. Now, see this phrase not as truth, but as a hook, a fishing hook lodged in the soft tissue of your memory. See its shape, its barb. This hook is connected to a line. And at the other end of that line is not the person who said it, but your own attention to it. Your repeated revisiting of the memory, the hurt, is what keeps the line taut, keeping the hook embedded. Breathe. With each exhale, imagine sending a wave of compassion, karuna, to the place where the hook is lodged. Soften around it. Then, with your inner wisdom, see yourself gently, slowly, disentangling the hook. You are not yanking it out violently. You are applying the oil of understanding. This was their pain. This is not my truth. As you do this, imagine the line going slack. The hook simply falls away, dissolving into light. The sore place is bathed in the gentle light of your own loving kindness, metta. Repeat to yourself, I release what was never mine to carry. I return to my own wholeness. Sit with the feeling of release for a few breaths. This practice, done regularly, drains the charge from old memories. It teaches your nervous system that you are safe now, and that the past words have no power in the present unless you reinvest your energy in them. Now, we must address the craving, Trishna. That can lead us into harm's way. Often, we tolerate poor treatment because we crave the idea of the relationship, the fantasy of who the person could be, or the validation they seem to offer. We are attached to the potential, not the reality. The Buddha taught that craving is the cause of suffering. Craving for a particular person to be different is a profound source of dukkha. I share a story about a gifted architect, Leo. He fell for a woman who was dazzlingly charismatic but emotionally unavailable. She gave him just enough attention to keep him enthralled, but would disappear for weeks. Leo's friends saw the pattern, but he was hooked. He craved the high of her intermittent affection. In our talks, he didn't speak of her, but of the feeling she gave him, of being chosen, special, seen by someone so elusive. We looked at his blueprint for a house he was designing. This is beautiful, I said. Strong foundation, graceful lines. Now, imagine your longing for her is like a client demanding you put the main supporting beam, here. I pointed to a spot outside the footprint of the house, in midair. It's impossible, he said. The house would collapse. Exactly, I replied. Your craving is asking you to build the central pillar of your happiness on a person who is, by her consistent behavior, not present. You are trying to build a stable structure on a location that is, for all intents and purposes, empty space. The suffering is not that she is empty. The suffering is that you keep trying to build there. The healing is to bring your craving into the light of mindfulness. When you feel that pull towards someone who speaks in harmful patterns, pause. Ask, what is the craving? What void am I asking this person to fill? Is it loneliness? A sense of unworthiness? A desire for excitement? See the craving as a separate phenomenon. There is craving. Hold it with compassion, but do not let it be the architect of your life. Then, gently turn your attention to building your inner house on the solid ground of your own presence. Fill your own voids with your own company, your own passions, your own spiritual practice. A person who is truly for you will be a beautiful addition to an already sound structure, not a phantom beam you hope will hold the roof up. This leads to cultivating worth independent of another's words. Your worth is not a verdict to be delivered by others. It is your inherent Buddha nature, your fundamental capacity for awakening, wisdom, and compassion. It is as inherent as the wetness of water or the heat of fire. No one can give it to you or take it away. They can only convince you to forget it. Practice this remembrance. Each morning, look in the mirror and say, "My worth is inherent. My peace is my responsibility. My boundaries are sacred." This is not affirmation, it is recollection of a deeper truth. Let us continue, painting now with the colors of connection. Having cleared the undergrowth of harmful speech and begun to heal the soil of the self, we can now envision, and attract, the beauty of a relationship grounded in right speech and right relationship. This is not a fairy tale, but a practical reality built on mutual respect and shared spiritual intention. Imagine communication not as a battlefield, but as a shared garden you tend together. Each person brings their own seeds. The practice is to examine the seeds together before planting. I'm feeling hurt. Can I share this seed with you? I have a concern. Is now a good time to look at it? This is the language of collaboration, not confrontation. In such a dynamic, difficult truths are handled like delicate transplants. They are done with care, at the right time, with the intent to help the garden thrive. A partner might say, "I noticed the trust section of our garden looks a little wilted. When you didn't call last night, I felt worried. Can we water that together?" This is honesty fused with compassion and a shared goal. Let me describe a couple I knew, not as students, but as teachers in their own right. Eli and Sam were forest rangers. Their relationship was their greatest taught lesson. I once asked them the secret. Sam said, "We follow the forest rules. First, you have to know what you're looking at. Is this a passing mushroom or a deep-rooted blight? You don't treat them the same. So when one of us is upset, the other first asks, 'What am I looking at? Is this a today pain or an old pain?' That determines the response." Eli added, "And in a healthy forest, nothing is wasted. Fallen logs become nurseries for new trees. Our arguments, if handled right, become the nurseries for new understanding. We don't try to win. We try to understand what nutrient is missing. If I say something that hurts Sam, that's a fallen log. We don't hide it or burn it. We sit with it, look at it, and ask, what can grow from this? Usually, it's a deeper knowledge of each other's sensitive spots. This is the essence of symbiotic speech. It recognizes interconnection. Your partner's pain is not an attack on you. It is a signal from the shared ecosystem. Your words are not just your own, they become the weather in your partner's inner world. Now, to the critical question, can people change? From a Buddhist perspective, yes, absolutely. All phenomena are impermanent, anicca, including personality traits and behavioral patterns. But, and this is crucial, genuine change is not announced, it is demonstrated through consistent, new karmic actions. It is not, "I'll change, I promise." It is the gradual, observable cessation of the old pattern and the cultivation of the new. What does real change sound like? It sounds like accountability without prompting. I realized I used that too sensitive line again when we talked yesterday. That's my old pattern. I'm sorry. What I meant to say was, I need a moment to process my own reaction. Curiosity about your boundaries. You mentioned needing a night to yourself each week. I want to support that. What does that look like for you? Clarity replacing ambiguity. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I am ready for a committed relationship with you. Here's what that means to me. Celebration, not fear, of your growth. You seemed so confident in that meeting. It was amazing to see. Tell me what that felt like for you. This speech is not perfect. It is accountable. It is oriented toward learning and repair. A person capable of this change is not a flawless being. They are a committed practitioner of the relationship, just as one is a practitioner of the Dharma. Contrast this with performative change. The change that is promised under pressure lasts only as long as your watchful eye is upon them, and reverts the moment you relax. Performative change is about managing your behavior, not transforming their own heart. It is the echo, not the voice. I recall a story of a potter and his apprentice. The apprentice kept producing wobbly pots. The master would point it out. The apprentice would quickly smooth over the wobble with wet clay, making the pot look straight. But in the kiln, the weak structure would crack. The master finally said, "You are fixing the symptom, not the cause. The wobble comes from an uncentered start on the wheel. No amount of surface smoothing later will give it strength. You must change how you begin." The apprentice had to unlearn his initial throw, a much harder task than a surface fix. Real change in a person is about recentering their fundamental intentions and reactions, not just smoothing over the visible cracks after they appear. So, when assessing change, don't listen for promises about the future. Observe the present moment centering. Are they starting from a new, more respectful, more self-aware place? Or are they just applying wet clay to old wobbles? Let us continue, embracing the wisdom of release. We arrive at a tender but essential crossroads on this path, the understanding that not every connection is meant to last, and that walking away, with compassion and clarity, is sometimes the most profound act of love for yourself and even for the other person. This is the practice of letting go, Kaga, one of the sublime abidings. It is not giving up in defeat. It is a conscious relinquishment of attachment to a dynamic that causes sustained suffering. In nature, a tree does not hold on to dead leaves. It releases them. This is not an act of hatred toward the leaves, it is an act of survival and preparation for new growth. The leaf served its purpose in its season, photosynthesizing light. But when its time is done, clinging to it would burden the tree. Our relationships can be like this. Some people come into our lives for a specific season, to teach us a lesson, to bring us joy for a time, to challenge a pattern. When the season ends, when the interaction consistently brings more shadow than light, the spiritually skillful action is to release. The key is to release with wisdom, not with rage. Rage is just another form of attachment, an attachment to the pain, to the story of victimhood. Wise letting go is like placing a leaf on the surface of a flowing river. You acknowledge its existence, you thank it for its lessons, and then you let the current of your life carry it away. You turn your attention back to your own roots, your own trunk, your own reaching toward the sun. I share a story about a woman named Cora, who for years tried to fix her relationship with her deeply critical sister. Every conversation was a minefield. Cora read books, went to therapy, tried every communication technique. She exhausted herself. She came on retreat, utterly drained. I have tried everything. I feel like a failure, she said. We went to a riverbank piled with autumn leaves. Pick one up, I said. She did. Now, try to fix this leaf. Make it green again. Make it supple. She looked at me as if I were mad. I can't. It's dead. It's done its cycle. Exactly, I said. You are trying to fix a dynamic that has reached the end of its natural cycle. The leaf is not broken, its season is over. Your sister may not change. The dynamic, as it is, may be complete. Your work is not to resurrect a dead leaf, but to acknowledge the cycle is over, let it go to the earth to become compost for your future growth, and focus on the living branches of your own tree, the relationships that still bring you light. Cora wept, but it was a release. She realized her failure was an illusion. She had not failed to fix the unfixable, she had succeeded in learning its true nature. She began to interact with her sister with detached, limited kindness. Short calls, surface topics, and invested her real energy elsewhere. The relief was immediate. She had let go of the leaf, and her tree could breathe. This applies powerfully to romantic relationships with persistent harmful speech. You can have compassion for the person's suffering that drives their behavior, the karuna, while simultaneously having the wisdom to know you cannot heal it for them, and the self-compassion to remove yourself from its path. Letting go in this context might look like a final, calm conversation, I care for you, but the way we communicate is harming me. I need to step away to protect my peace. I wish you healing. Then, you uphold that boundary. This is the ultimate application of the compassionate exit. Now, let us integrate everything into a final, grounding metaphor, the inner sanctuary. Imagine within you a temple, a pristine sanctuary. This is the seat of your Buddha nature, your untouched peace. Only you hold the key. The words of others are like visitors knocking at the gate. You, as the gatekeeper, have choices. Wholesome speech is a guest who brings offerings of flowers, incense, or helpful tools. You welcome them in. Their presence beautifies the sanctuary. Confused/harmful speech is a guest who is agitated, carrying muddy boots, shouting, or bearing poisoned gifts. Wisdom does not mean you hate this guest. It means you have the discernment to say, I see you are troubled. You may not enter my sanctuary in this state. You may sit outside the gate until you calm down. If you wish to enter, you must leave the mud and poison outside. You are not responsible for calming the agitated guest. You are responsible for the purity of your sanctuary. Some guests will never learn to enter respectfully. Your job is not to let them ruin your temple out of pity or obligation. Your job is to keep the gate, and to spend your time within, tending the altar of your own spirit. So, how do you live this? Daily. You start your day by visiting your inner sanctuary in meditation. You end your day by checking in, did I let any muddy guests in today? If so, I gently escort them out with my breath. You make your choices about who to spend time with, what conversations to engage in, based on who is likely to be a respectful guest at your gate. This is the embodiment of self-mastery. It is not controlling the world. It is mastering your own gate. Let us complete our journey together. We have traveled far, from identifying the winds of harmful speech, to building the mountain of our awareness, to healing the soil of the heart, to envisioning symbiotic connection, and finally, to mastering the gate of our inner sanctuary. This is not a one-time lesson, but a lifelong practice. The practice of relating wisely, which is at the very heart of the Buddhist path. Now, let us integrate these teachings not just in the mind, but in the body and spirit. I invite you into a final, extended guided meditation. Make yourself comfortable. Allow your eyes to close. Let your breathing settle into its natural, gentle rhythm. Feel the weight of your body, supported by the chair, the floor, the earth. With each exhale, release any lingering tension, in the shoulders, the jaw, the belly. Let go of the need to do anything, or be anywhere else. For these next few minutes, there is only here. Only now. In the center of your being, imagine a path. It is a quiet, peaceful path, lit by the soft, moonlike light of your own awareness. Begin to walk this path inward. With each step, you leave behind the noise of the world, the opinions, the expectations. You walk deeper into the forest of your own soul. The air is cool and clean. The only sound is your own breath, and the quiet beat of your heart. Soon, you come to a clearing. And in the center of this clearing stands your inner sanctuary. See it. It is uniquely yours. Perhaps it is a simple cottage, a grand temple, a crystalline dome, or a peaceful grove. See its form. It radiates a gentle, protective light. This is the home of your true nature, your inherent worth, your peace, your Buddha nature. Approach the door. Place your hand upon it. It recognizes you. It opens smoothly. Step inside. Feel the atmosphere. It is serene. It is safe. It is sacred. This space cannot be violated unless you yourself invite violation in. Look around. See the details. An altar, perhaps, with a symbol of what matters most to you. A comfortable place to sit. Windows that look out onto the beauty of your own inner landscape. The light here comes from within the sanctuary itself. Now, walk to the center. Sit down. Breathe, and claim this space. I am home. I am safe. I am whole. From this centered place, bring to mind the concept of your sensitivity. See it not as a flaw, but as a sacred instrument resting on the altar, a finely tuned bell, a clear pool of water. Send gratitude to this instrument. Thank you for guiding me. Thank you for feeling deeply. I honor your signals. Now, bring to mind your boundaries. See them not as walls, but as the clear, strong, beautiful structure of the sanctuary itself. The walls that keep the weather out, the roof that provides shelter, the door that you control. Feel the strength and safety of this structure. My boundaries are my self-respect made visible. They are not negotiable. Bring to mind your growth. See it as a living vine growing inside the sanctuary, or a tree visible through the window. It is lush, green, reaching toward the light. Place a hand of blessing upon it. My growth is my life force. I celebrate my evolution. Now, from this place of profound centeredness, imagine a figure approaching the outside of your sanctuary. This figure represents someone from your past or present whose words have caused confusion or pain. See them standing outside the gate. They speak. You hear the old phrase, whatever it was, float toward you. But here, inside your sanctuary, the words do not land as truth. They land as sound. You feel the echo of the old hurt, perhaps, a slight tremor. But you are in your center. You look at the figure, and you see them clearly. You see their own turmoil, their own tangled karma, their own fear. You feel compassion for their suffering, but you feel no need to let it inside. From your seated place of power, you respond. Not with your old voice of defense or doubt, but with the calm, clear voice of the sanctuary keeper. You might say inwardly, I hear you. I release your words back to you. They belong to your journey, not mine. Or, I wish you peace, but your storm may not enter here. Or simply, no. Feel the power of this. You are not fighting. You are not pleading. You are stating the inviolable law of your own being. The figure may persist, or it may fade. It does not matter. Your sanctuary is secure. Now, let that figure fade entirely. Bask in the quiet sovereignty of your own space. Finally, turn your inner gaze to the future. From your sanctuary door, look out along the path. See, walking toward you, the forms of healthy, loving connection. They are not perfect people, but they are respectful guests. They approach your gate with curiosity and care. They knock gently. When you open, they smile. They say things like, I admire the way you. Tell me more about what you need. I am here, and I choose this. Your growth inspires me. Feel the energy of these words. They do not demand entry, they request it respectfully. They bring offerings that nourish your sanctuary. This is the energy you are choosing to call toward you. Not from a place of need, but from a place of wholeness that desires to share its light. Take a few deep breaths, soaking in this feeling of sovereign, peaceful attraction. You are not searching desperately. You are sitting in your beautiful sanctuary, and from this place of abundance, you are open to genuine connection. When you are ready, begin to bring your awareness back. But know that you can return to this inner sanctuary anytime, with a single breath, a single moment of mindfulness. It is always within you. Gently wiggle your fingers and toes. Feel the solidity of your physical body. And as you open your eyes, carry the serenity and strength of your inner sanctuary with you into the world. This is where our formal journey ends. You now have the map, the tools, and the inner refuge. Remember, the right love, the right connections, will never require you to dismantle your sanctuary to make room for them. They will admire its architecture and ask how they can visit without disturbing the peace. They will speak a language that resonates with the quiet truth already living within you. You are not responsible for healing those who choose to speak from their wounds. You are responsible for tending your own sanctuary with exquisite care. In doing so, you become a beacon. Not of need, but of peace. And that peace will attract its own kind. Thank you for walking this path with me at Monk's Moon Temple. May you carry this sanctuary within you, always. May you be peaceful. May you be happy. May you be free. Good night.